Hey everybody, this is Jimmy with the Unusual Minds, watching bad movies so you don't have to. On this episode of Behind the B Movie, we are going on a trip. That's right, we're gonna eat some LSD and summon Satan with I Drink Your Blood, the grindhouse classic about rabid hippies invading a small town. So make sure to bring extra meat pies, because it's gonna get heady, brah. I Drink Your Blood is a 1971 American exploitation horror film, written and directed by David E. Durston and produced by Jerry Gross. And the film centers around a small town that is overrun by rabies-infected members of a satanic hippie cult after a revenge plot goes horribly wrong. Durston originally entitled the film Phobia. However, the distribution felt that the film needed to be on a double feature. An ad executive came up with the promotion of a double feature of films called I Drink Your Blood and I Eat Your Skin. This is how Durston's film came to be named I Drink Your Blood, despite the fact that no one in the film ever drinks blood. I Drink Your Blood was marketed and released as a double feature with Del Taney's previously unreleased 1964 film, Zombies, which Gross had acquired and renamed I Eat Your Skin. Development for the film began in 1970 when Durston was contracted by Jerry Gross, the CEO of Cinemation Industries and a producer of exploitation films. Gross asked Durston to write and direct a low-budget horror film. Durston had previously directed several sexploitation films and ABC's finally successful TV series Tales of Tomorrow from 1951 to 1953. As Durston later recalled, Gross said he wanted to make the most graphic horror film ever produced, but he didn't want any vampires, man-made monsters, werewolves, or mad doctors, or little people. Gross had been impressed by Durston's work on Tales of Tomorrow, and made a deal with Durston that if he came up with a good idea, he would double the previous writing and directing contract with the guilds. The film was partially inspired by the success of Night of the Living Dead 2 years earlier. A drive-in ad for Night of the Living Dead can be glimpsed in the bulletin board in Mildred's Bakery. For a period of 3 weeks, Durston struggled to come up with a proper storyline for the film, until reading a newspaper article on an incident involving a mountain village in Iran. According to Durston, the article described the incident where a pack of rabid wolves attacked a schoolhouse occupied by 18 or 19 children and 2 teachers. Fascinated by the idea, Durston contacted a doctor who was an authority on disease and had visited the village. He was shown 8mm footage that the doctor had taken during his work at the village with infected children locked in cages and foaming at the mouth. Durston later recalled, "It made the hair on the back of my head elevate. I had never seen anything so horrible, yet so real in all my life." Inspired by the experience, and feeling that a film about rabies epidemic had never been done before, Durston wrote a story outline that centered on a small town overrun with a rabies epidemic. Durston pitched the idea to Gross, who liked the concept and immediately greenlit the project. The development of the script took 8 weeks, with Durston making frequent additions and revisions in later drafts over an additional 5-week period. Further inspiration for the film came from coverage of the trial of Charles Manson. Using the high publicity generated from the trial, Durston rewrote the script, creating the character Horace Bones, a Manson-like leader of a satanic cult of hippies that terrorizes the town. According to Durston, the character Horace Bones created a real threat to the town, as well as adding scenes that generally shocked the audience. Impressed with the film's script, Gross authorized Durston to begin pre-production. Due to the film's relatively low budget, the film's cast was mostly comprised of unknown and amateur actors. The film was distinctive for its multi-ethnic cast, with members of the satanic game portrayed by black, white, Chinese, Indian actors. The satanic practices of the cult were based upon actual satanic rituals told to Durston by a friend who is a former member of a satanic cult. The word pig being written on Shelley's torso during the bleeding ritual was an homage to the real-life crimes of Charles Manson and his cult. Principal photography for I Drink Your Blood commenced later that year and was shot on location in Sharon Springs, a small town in upstate New York once famous as a summer spa town, which had largely become a ghost town, and the producers were allowed to use the abandoned hotels as locations. Durston became friends with the town sheriff, who helped the crew during filming. Durston later cast him in a bit role as the sheriff seen in the film's climax. One of the town's locations used in the film was the Roosevelt, an old hotel that was scheduled for demolition within the next couple of months. The crew paid the town $300 to use the hotel, which, according to Durston, they practically tore down themselves. Due in part to the film's relatively low budget, most of the film's effects and stunts were practical, and the cast performed their own stunts. For the scenes involving rats, trained rats were brought in, while dead rats were purchased from the local medical center and painted to match the color of the trained rats. Several of the trained rats featured in the film would later be used in the 1971 horror film Willard and its 1972 sequel, Ben. During the course of filming, tensions between the town locals and the film's cast and crew mounted because of the locals' uncertainty and misunderstanding with the film's director. After one incident in which the locals witnessed Durston attempting to motivate an actress, Irish Brooks, for an emotional scene, they contacted the town sheriff, insisting that Durston was abusing the cast and crew and should be arrested or replaced with another director. Nonetheless, Durston remained the film's director throughout the duration of the film. I Drink Your Blood premiered in Los Angeles May 7, 1971. Durston had originally intended for the film to play only in drive-ins. Gross, however, without informing Durston, had the film screened at a first-class Warner Brothers theater in Broadway. I Drink Your Blood was one of the first films to receive an X rating from the Motion Picture Association of America based on violence alone, rather than on nudity. According to Durston, when the film was originally given an X rating by the MPAA, theaters threatened to pull the film entirely. The distribution company then granted the theaters permission to edit the film themselves, as long as they would still attempt to show it. As a result of this agreement, Durston says there were hundreds of different versions of the film due to individual theaters editing their own reels of I Drink Your Blood. However, Box Office Magazine reported in January 1971 that the Code and Ratings Appeal Boards re-rated the film R after hearing an appeal, at which time the film's distributor agreed to make certain cuts and insert additional footage at the request of the MPAA. On September 23, 2016, Grindhouse announced that they would be releasing the film for the first time on HD Blu-ray November 22nd later that year. The release added new audio commentary and interviews to the film's cast and crew, the original theatrical trailer and radio spots. The release also included the fully restored feature films I Eat Your Skin and The Blue Sextet. I Drink Your Blood has been screened at multiple film festivals over the years in celebration of the film. In 2016, as part of the company's promotion of the Blu-ray release, Grindhouse Releasing screened the film at multiple film festivals. On the audience members' reactions to the film, Durston said, "I think the reason audiences reacted to it so dramatically was because it was a violent story that could probably have happened. The violence was not far-fetched or unmotivated. The more audiences can identify with a situation that might happen to them or could happen to them, the bigger the scare." Bill Landis and Michelle Clifford, in their book Sleazoid Express, the mind-twisting tour through Grindhouse cinema of Times Square, called it the pinnacle of the blood horror movie, praising Pescar's performance as well as the film's direction, violence, and soundtrack. Authors Tom Milne and Paul Williman, in their book Encyclopedia of Horror Movies, wrote that As the film now stands as what looks like it may have been a raw, ferocious thriller, has become a frustrating exercise in splicing, incessantly building up the scenes of bone crushing horror and violence which never actually happen. Overall, I Drink Your Blood is one of the true grindhouse gem that pushed the boundaries of cinema at a time defining what true exploitation film is. Yeah, it may be too demented and rough edged for the casual viewer, but horror junkies and those who are interested in true, independent 70s cinema will find the film more than earns its notorious reputation. And this has been Jimmy with The Unusual Mind, watching bad movies so you don't have to. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone you know that might want to taste some Lucy Pies.